Deep in the frozen outskirts of our solar system, nearly 6 billion kilometers from the Sun, a small world of ice and rock traces a lonely path through the darkness. For many years, this distant object was known only as a faint speck of light, the ninth and most enigmatic planet, Pluto. Yet this world was not alone. It held a secret, a faint blur haunting our earliest photographs. What seemed like a flaw in the images, once understood, would not only reveal a companion world, but would also reshape our understanding of planets and moons. This is the story of a world discovered by chance, a world that cracked open from within, a world marked by a strange red stain gifted by its larger twin. This is the story of Charon. The discovery of Charon started not with a deliberate search, but with a simple mistake. Naval Observatory was performing a routine task, examining photographic plates of Pluto to refine its orbital path. The images, taken with a telescope in Arizona, were not considered high quality. In fact, several had been labeled defective because Pluto appeared not as a sharp point, but as an oddly stretched blob with a noticeable bulge on one side. Most would have dismissed this as a flaw, perhaps due to atmospheric distortion or telescope misalignment. But Christie's background in studying double stars prepared him to spot a pattern others missed. He noticed a crucial detail. While Pluto's image was smeared, the background stars on the same plates were perfectly sharp. If the distortion were due to equipment or atmosphere, everything in the image would be affected. Since only Pluto appeared stretched, the bulge had to be real. Something else was there. Christie dug into the observatory's archives, unearthing older images of Pluto dating back to 1965. But now, these rejected photos became key evidence. Christie observed that the bulge moved systematically around Pluto over time. Working with his colleague Robert Harrington, he tracked its position across years of archived data. 4 days, a number that matched Pluto's own rotation period exactly. This was the final clue. The ghost in the photographs was a massive moon, locked in a synchronous dance with its parent world. As the discoverer, Christie had the privilege of naming it. It was a personal tribute, but by remarkable coincidence, the name also fit perfectly with mythology. Only later did Christie learn that in Greek myths, Charon was the silent ferryman who carried souls across the river into the underworld, the domain ruled by Pluto. The name was officially adopted in 1986, but this newfound moon was far more than a companion. Its existence forced a complete reevaluation of our solar system and ultimately contributed to Pluto's reclassification. The discovery of Charon provided the first real opportunity to measure Pluto's mass accurately. By applying Kepler's laws to Charon's orbit, astronomers made a startling find. Pluto was not a small terrestrial planet, but incredibly lightweight, only about 1/6 the mass of Earth's moon. Charon itself was substantial, possessing about 12% of Pluto's mass. That ratio is far greater than any other major moon in the solar system, 2% of Earth's mass. This near parity in size creates a unique dynamic. In most planet-moon systems, the center of mass lies deep within the larger planet. But Pluto and Charon are so close in mass that their shared center, or barycenter, lies in the empty space between them, about 960 kilometers above Pluto's surface. The two worlds perpetually orbit this invisible point. Our moon is tidally locked to Earth, meaning the same side always faces us. From the lunar surface, however, Earth would appear to rotate. The Pluto-Charon system takes this a step further. They are mutually tidally locked. Not only does Charon always show the same face to Pluto, but Pluto also always shows the same face to Charon. If you stood on the side of Pluto facing its companion, Charon would hang motionless in the sky, a colossal disk that never rises or sets. On the opposite hemisphere, you would never see it at all. They are locked in an eternal stare across 19,640 kilometers of space. These traits, the external barycenter and mutual tidal locking, led many to argue that Pluto and Charon should be considered a double planet system. This ambiguity became central to the heated planetary definition debates of the early 2000s. Charon's discovery provided critical data that forced astronomers to acknowledge the solar system's complexity beyond simple categories. In 2006, the International Astronomical Union even considered classifying them as a double planet, though the idea was ultimately set aside when Pluto was reclassified as a dwarf planet. So how did such an unusual system form? For years, the leading theory was a scaled-down version of our own moon's origin, the giant impact hypothesis. This suggested a massive object from the Kuiper belt collided with a proto-Pluto, blasting debris into orbit that coalesced into Charon. This model explained the system's high angular momentum and Charon's nearly circular orbit. But as knowledge grew, this model showed weaknesses. Pluto and Charon are not molten rock. They are small, rigid worlds made of rock and water ice, which behave differently under impact. Recent simulations point toward a new, more elegant theory, a low-velocity, grazing impact. Instead of a shattering collision, it was more like a cosmic kiss. Proto-Pluto and Proto-Charon collided gently enough to stick together temporarily, spinning as a single snowman-shaped object before tidal forces pulled them apart. They separated but remained forever bound by gravity. This kiss and capture scenario has a key advantage. It explains how both bodies survived largely intact, preserving their original internal structures. Observations support this, showing Pluto is denser and more rock-rich than Charon, suggesting they formed separately and were not thoroughly mixed in a fiery collision. This formation story is crucial because it explains Charon's entire geological history. The initial impact, and especially the immense tidal friction as the two bodies pulled apart, deposited vast heat deep inside both worlds. This energy acted as a starter pistol for Charon's geological evolution. Trapped under an icy crust, the heat melted the interior, creating a subsurface ocean and setting the stage for dramatic changes on its surface. For 37 years after its discovery, Charon remained little more than a fuzzy companion. Then, on July 14, 2015, NASA's New Horizons spacecraft flew past the pair, transforming them from distant points into vibrant, complex worlds. The images of Charon were breathtaking. They revealed a world that had, in its distant past, torn itself apart. Charon's surface is not smooth. It's dominated by vast tectonic faults, enormous ridges, towering cliffs, and deep valleys. The most spectacular feature is a great belt of chasms wrapping around its equator, 5 kilometers deep. That's more than 4 times as long and nearly 5 times as deep as Earth's Grand Canyon. These are not river-carved canyons, but colossal pull-apart faults, evidence that Charon's entire crust was stretched to the breaking point. What force could cause a whole world to rupture? The answer lies in its formation heat. That initial energy, supplemented by radioactive decay in its rocky core, likely melted water ice deep inside, creating a vast subsurface ocean. For a time, Charon was an ocean world. But small bodies in the outer solar system eventually lose their heat. As Charon cooled over millions of years, the subsurface ocean began to freeze. Water behaves uniquely. It expands when it freezes. As the ocean turned to ice, its volume increased, pushing relentlessly outward on the brittle crust above. The surface strained until it fractured, creating the vast canyons visible today. One scientist described it as Charon tearing itself apart at the seams. Today, Charon appears geologically still. Its era of great upheaval is long past. Without a thick atmosphere or ongoing geological activity to erode these features, the evidence of this ancient cataclysm remains perfectly preserved. Charon's surface is a frozen snapshot of its ocean's death. The freezing of Charon's ocean did more than crack its crust, it also resurfaced half the world. New Horizons revealed 2 hemispheres with dramatically different histories. The northern hemisphere, informally named Oz Terra, is ancient and battered, with rugged, high-standing terrain heavily cratered and crisscrossed by vast tectonic faults. This is Charon's original crust, frozen in its fractured state. But to the south, the landscape transforms. This is Vulcan Planitia, a vast, smooth plain strikingly different from the north. This region is far less cratered, indicating a much younger surface. It sits at a lower elevation and shows features resembling frozen flows and broad swells. Scientists believe Vulcan Planitia is one of the most extensive examples of cryovolcanism in the solar system. These were not volcanoes of molten rock, but of icy slush. As the subsurface ocean froze, expansion pressurized the liquid below, likely mixed with ammonia acting as antifreeze. This pressurized cryomagma forced its way upward through new cracks, erupting onto the surface. Icy lava flooded the southern hemisphere, creating the smooth plains of Vulcan Planitia. Scattered across these plains are large, isolated mountains like Kubrick Mons, which appear to sit in strange depressions. These may be colossal blocks of the older northern crust that broke off, drifted like icebergs on the cryovolcanic flows, and were left stranded as the plains solidified. Perhaps the most visually striking and mysterious feature on Charon is its North Pole. Capping the moon is a large, dark, reddish-brown stain, so prominent that the New Horizons team informally named it Mordor Macula, after the dark land from the Lord of the Rings. The color is likely caused by complex organic molecules called tholins. Tholins are reddish, tar-like substances formed when simple organic compounds like methane are irradiated by solar ultraviolet light and cosmic rays. Though tholins are common in the outer solar system, their concentration at Charon's pole is unique. The mystery lies in the source of the methane. Two competing theories exist. The leading hypothesis suggests the methane is a gift from Pluto. Pluto's atmosphere, rich in nitrogen and methane, slowly escapes into space. Charon's gravity captures some of this lost gas. During Charon's long polar winter, which lasts over a century, temperatures plummet below -240 degrees Celsius. When the pole swings back into sunlight, the accumulated methane ice is bombarded with UV radiation, cooking it into the reddish tholins that stain the pole. In this view, Pluto and Charon form a dynamic, interconnected system, with one world actively painting the surface of its companion across thousands of kilometers. A competing theory suggests the methane was an inside job, originating from Charon's own interior. The massive cryovolcanic eruptions that formed Vulcan Planitia would have released enormous quantities of gases, including methane dissolved in the subsurface ocean. This could have created a temporary atmosphere on Charon. Just as in the first hypothesis, methane would have migrated to the coldest parts, the poles, and frozen out. Over billions of years, this native methane deposit was irradiated to form Mordor Macula. This theory elegantly ties the polar cap's origin directly to the other major geological events that shaped the moon. Whether the methane came from Pluto's atmosphere or Charon's own interior, Mordor Macula stands as a visible testament to the inseparable connection between these two distant worlds, a direct product of their shared history and environment. Our journey began with a smudge on a photographic plate, nearly dismissed as an error. It ends with a complex and dramatic world, a world of continent-spanning canyons deeper than any on Earth, vast plains of ancient ice lava, and a mysterious red-stained pole. It's impossible to tell Pluto's story without Charon. Charon's orbit gave us the first true measure of Pluto's mass, revealing it as the king of a new class of worlds. Charon's existence pointed to a shared, violent birth that sculpted both bodies and injected them with the heat that fueled their evolution. Charon's fractured surface tells the story of a lost ocean, a geological history that provides crucial context for understanding the forces that may still churn inside the more active Pluto today. And Charon's red pole may serve as a permanent record of Pluto's atmosphere, slowly escaping into space over the eons. In mythology, Charon the Ferryman was an inseparable and essential figure in Pluto's realm. Science has revealed this to be profoundly true. Charon is not merely a moon orbiting a dwarf planet. It is the other half of a unique binary system, forever locked in a silent, eternal dance with Pluto. Its story is a powerful reminder that our greatest discoveries can hide in our mistakes, and that even the most distant, frozen, and seemingly quiet corners of our solar system hold histories more fiery and dramatic than we could ever imagine. If you enjoyed this journey to the edge of our solar system, make sure to subscribe for more explorations into the wonders of space. Don't forget to like this video and share it with fellow astronomy enthusiasts. Your support helps bring the cosmos closer to everyone.